What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the Geek Speak Nation channel, and I'm here to bring you my review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So, after being announced almost 3 years ago, as of Comic-Con 2013, we have finally been gifted with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, or as some people may even say, cursed with it. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, as you may or may not as well know by now, this has been a very, very divisive film on how people feel about it. From the critics to fans of the content, specific DC comic book content, there's a divide. And I think this is probably my hardest film I've ever had to review, because part of me is very committed to the film because I am a big fan of the source material. I read all the comic books. I am aware of all the past DC lore spanning 75 years of comic book history. I am aware and pretty knowledgeable on most of it. And also, I am a critic in and of itself. And so it is hard to look at the film and being like, oh, I really like this, but at the same time, I'd understand if I didn't have the knowledge I had going into this film, certain aspects would be confusing or just wouldn't work at all completely. So that's my mindset going into the film, is that I am a fan, a deep, deep fan of the lore that goes behind the film, but also I love and appreciate movies and have to acknowledge where flaws are. So I'm trying to keep this as balanced as possible with both sides of me. And I have to say that overall, I like the film. And it's very easy to go into the negatives of this film, but I really want to focus on what I really enjoyed and what really captivated me about the film. And despite what many people are saying, I honestly don't think that this is a 2 out of 10 movie, a 1 out of 10 movie. This is such a well-made film. Zack Snyder knows anything when it comes to directing, and the whole entire teams that he works with. It's world building. It's working with costume designers and working with people for scouting locations. The world that they build aesthetically is just so alluring and so captivating. I love what they did with this film and the creation of it, from the props to the locations to the way they go to certain locations and they color correct even the cinematography. I find it really, really captivating, and I really enjoyed how well made this film was. And it goes without saying that when you deal with Zack Snyder, you get really great visuals, and the action sequences in this film are top notch. We get action sequences with Batman that are the best I honestly think we've ever seen with the character, and that aspect of the film is really exciting and really engaging. And I also love the performances that are given in the film. I think Ben Affleck is a standout in the role of Batman. He brings such gravitas and yet swagger to the role, but at the same time, he really harpens on Bruce Wayne being a tortured soul, and that's what I really enjoyed about his performance. It was very captivating and gripping, and his Batman was brutal and savage, and some would say too savage. But we'll get into that later, more than likely in the spoiler-filled review that I will do for this film. But moving on to other characters, I found characters like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman to be very great. Jeremy Irons as Alfred was phenomenal. The comic relief coming from Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White was great. So elements like that and characters really worked. But things end up falling apart in the film when it comes to the way certain characters are handled. And I think the characters that are handled the most poorly would have to be Superman and Lex Luthor. I think in this film, even though its story is a direct continuation off of Man of Steel, it is a film that disapproves of Superman, and it is a film that honestly puts the character of Superman to the sideline, which is really a shame, because this film in its writing, which is very well done by Chris Terrio, brings up some very, very interesting ideas about the concept of Superman and power and God and the existence of higher beings in our plane of existence, and if that were tangible concepts, and what that would change about our perspective on our lives and the way we interact with others. These ideas that are presented are very, very great in the beginning of the film and are introduced, but are never fully explored and are never really applied well to the characters, because oftentimes Superman will have this ideological event happen to him, or this massive event that provokes ideological questions, but he is just left to the script having him go, I don't know. And that's it. He just says a few lines, and most of them are pretty bad. The dialogue is written not that well for Superman, and I don't understand why, because a lot of the dialogue in the rest of the film is really, really great. But Superman is just really sidelined in this film, and that's very unfortunate, because the film should be about him in a sense, and he should be a crux on the film in which all these ideas are being thrust upon. And also, I believe that the character of Lex Luthor was played very well by Jesse Eisenberg, but this portrayal just did not fit in the world that they created. And this is where we get into the aspects of the film that are so divisive, because honestly, despite certain aspects of the film that are just dead set, these are flaws and these are very well done things, it's honestly a coin toss on whether or not you enjoy the film or not in the aspects that is presented to you. I enjoyed a lot of the aspects that are presented to me in this film, but some of them I don't. And honestly, it's just going to be a coin toss. And that's what you're going to have to deal with most of the reviews of this film, especially mine. And one of the biggest issues I had with this film is that there's so many great ideas presented, but they're never fully explored. And I think this is due to the fact that the original cut of this film is 3 hours long, and that there is over 30 minutes plus of content that is just completely missing from this film. And it shows, because so many plot lines and side plots are introduced but are never explored. And the ones that are in the film aren't put together very well at all. It is some of the worst editing I have ever seen is in this movie. And it's really unfortunate, because there are some scenes that really grip you emotionally and will get you invested, but then they will immediately cut to something else and you're like, wait, why'd you do that? I think a good reference for this that is not in the movie is in Man of Steel, because this same issue is prevalent. When you look at the death of Pa Kent in Man of Steel, you have the tornado sequence, he gets swept away, and then it immediately cuts to something else about Clark telling the story. It's that same type of editing issue of you're trying to get invested into a scene, but then it cuts to something else. But unlike in Man of Steel, where it cuts to a scene that's related to the scene prior, it just feels like a bunch of scenes planted that don't really connect. There's no real through line, and even if you think there is, that through line ends up disappearing almost halfway through the film, because it goes scene, 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 and then all of a sudden you're at the third act and the movie is over. And I found that very, very upsetting sitting down and watching the film, because I'm just like, wait, it's over? Because you set up all these things and all these questions, but none of them are really resolved, or at the end they're like, these are the things we have to go after and solve later on. And so as a film goer, I have to hold that accountable for the film and this cut of the film, and how things just weren't put together well and things were just not explored. So overall, despite these issues that I have with the film, there are a lot of great elements in the film, a lot of entertaining elements of the film that are really engaging, that I really enjoy. It's just that the well-crafted aspects of the film are often undermined by the ideas that they present, and that's really unfortunate in the way that it's put together. I think that the 3-hour version of this film would hopefully be a lot better, and I'm very interested in seeing that and seeing where they take the rest of the DC cinematic universe, because as I said before, I am a huge fan of DC Comics and all their lore, and I have a lot of faith in what they're going to do, but I just need to see more of that promise just rewarded, I think is the best word to say. I need to see a lot of that promise rewarded, and none of that's really rewarded in the film. And they try to have, without getting into spoilers, but they try to have events happen in the film that harpen off of your investment in the characters that just isn't there, because characters just aren't written well sometimes in this film, and some characters lack motivation, and some characters just don't develop at all, and that's really unfortunate. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have to say that I'm going to give Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice a 7 out of 10. So Batman v Superman, it's not a bad film, and it's not a great film. It's somewhat of a good film, but it all depends on your perspective. And I want to know what you guys think of Batman v Superman. I really think at the end of the day, it's a movie worth seeing. And it's worth formulating your own opinion on whether or not you liked it or disliked it. As I've said in my review, I liked a lot of aspects of the film and found a lot of it entertaining, but it's just certain things bothered me. So let me know in the comment sections down below what you thought of the film. But I also wanted you guys to keep in mind that I created this channel and I created Geek Speak Nation because I wanted a positive community to work with. And as I said before, this film is very divisive in what people think, and it's okay to disagree, but one thing I do not approve of is negativity and trying to express your ideas, to trash talk someone else, bring down other people, put hateful things in comment sections. I do not approve of that, guys. Please, let's have a positive discussion about this movie and go back and forth about things we did or did not like and get different perspectives about films, because that is the best part about watching movies, is getting other people's perspectives, other people's experiences, and see how that applies and that changes the context of the film. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video, and look forward to the return of the Cinemaniacs podcast, where we'll be doing a spotlight on Batman v Superman, where we can get more in depth into the spoilers of the film. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Daniel Hargrove, and do not forget to get geeky.